Hello and thanks for joining the Thursday edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Veronica Danik-Boy. Today on the program, court refuses to stop APC National Convention. DSS arrests Swam over Benue killings as proposed ranches in 10 states stir controversies. Zamfara citizens relocate to Katsina State. Matsari pledges support as Governor Yari says he is powerless to stop killings. And later on the show, OAU sacks Rwanda professor over sex for Mark scandal. I will be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Afolabi Akinola, and Asukwa James. Gentlemen, thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you so much.
Journalist Hangout starts now. The coast is now clear for the much-anticipated National Convention of the All Progressives Congress, APC. What could have been the last obstacle was removed on Wednesday. An Federal Capital Territory High Court refused to grant a request by an aggrieved member of the party to stop the convention. Udo Ibe, an APC member from Abia State, had approached the court to truncate the convention scheduled for Saturday in Abuja, but the trial judge, Justice Silvanus Origi, maintained that stopping it will amount to injustice to others, not parties in the dispute. Similarly, an Abuja Federal High Court also refused to stop the Babatunde Balogun-led Executive Committee of the Lagos APC from participating in the convention. Today, the court has spoken, and the convention will hold as scheduled. But we are not sure if the suit itself is a source of worry for other party members.
No, I don't think that is something that will bother them. Naturally, they would have expected that some people will try one or two last-minute schemes to frustrate the convention, but from what we have seen, that has largely not happened, and the courts have ruled appropriately.
You said largely?
Yes, so just two of them. In the past, you will have seen even high-profile members of the party coming up. But the fellow who sued from Abia State sued because according to him, he was denied the right to participate in the chairmanship election of his ward.
He said it was a guided Congress.
Yes, but that's what happened largely. Congresses that were held in some cases in government houses, they were guided, no doubt about it. And his own argument was that the tenure of that ESCO had expired at the time that it organized the Congress. But the court ruled that because they asked for, his lawyer argued that if the convention was allowed to proceed, then his case would have suffered a massive setback. But the court ruled that he, as an individual, should not infringe on the rights of other people, because other people took part in the Congress. So if by the action of somebody suing from Rivers, you stop an entire convention of the party, at the end of the day, those who are not party to the suits will have also suffered one injustice or the other. The people who had congresses that went on smoothly in their states, by the action of that guy to go to court, they will have suffered injury, as the lawyers will say. So the judge ruled that it will not be fair to do that. And it was a similar thing that happened even with the case that was filed against Balogun's faction of the APC in Lagos, because the judge ruled that more than 1,800 people took part in that exercise, that you are just one person. And the law also says clearly that if you did not take part in an election, you cannot contest its outcome. So it was a straightforward matter. The matter had been adjourned to, I think, July 5. By that time, these people will have done and dusted their convention.
The Congresses. But then, would you say, Afolabi, that this in itself was a fair decision by the courts?
I think let's even good kudos to our contemporary judiciary for this kind of, dispensation of justice. Because take, for instance, in some, before, an injunction that is even unwarranted will have even been issued. But I think most judges these days are becoming very clear with what the rule of law is even talking about. And like, as the judge has also ruled, that, ruling in his favor in this situation will, of course, amount to injustice on the numerical strength of people that will be in this national convention. And again, and I think I'm also sure that before going to court in the first instance, I'm sure all the internal arrangements to, of course, address the issue should have been raised. Should have been raised. Because for somebody, because take for instance, if the ruling had been otherwise, it would have been a great setback for the All Progressive Congress. And the party, as you are aware, in this situation, needs to be more strengthened as far as democracy is even concerned at the national. Remember, they are preparing for a bigger challenge ahead in the national, coming election. So the judge made a reasonable ruling, which of course made it very clear for people to know that. And although I know that an injury to one is an injury to all, but in this situation, the judge was very careful in exercising his ruling.
All right,
so that at least people will not suffer unnecessarily.
There's been said to be about 20 cases stemming from the congresses that took place across the country. But then when you look at how the issues that stemmed out of this congresses was handled, would you say that the party handled all of the cases adequately, addressed the issues adequately?
I think what really happened during the Congress was the governors who the party has given so much powers, so they want to make sure that they win all the Congresses for them to either come back or for them to, have a hold of the party in their states. So what we saw in all the Congresses, in most of the Congresses, were just the governors trying to make sure that, they have a hold, And from what we have seen, though the courts have ruled, we just want to believe that this is just the two cases that will be seen. We've not seen a major person coming out and taking them to court. Because we know that in so many states, there are so many aggrieved members out there. But maybe they're just trying to sit down somewhere and see how the National Convention will pan out, if it will favor them or not. But after the National Convention, that will be it.
You think?
Except there's a drama at the National Convention. Because what will lead to the National Convention is what we have done, which is the Congresses.
But they are still aggrieved members.
Yeah, they are aggrieved. And this is part of the aggrieved members. They were not allowed, to participate, and they've gone to the court, and the court have refused them. In fact, one of the rulings was saying that the convention is just around the corner. So you say that you just brought the case so that you'll be able to truncate the convention.
That is the motive.
That is the motive. So it's like the judiciary is beginning to come up to, to make sure that stuff like this are not, given that life that it wants. Because once you give the life to such cases, that is how it will boomerang, and it will keep going, and it will affect the National Convention. We are not saying that the party has bought over the judiciary, but I think the judiciary is now using what I'll say, they are now using their brain and their wisdom. Okay, let me use wisdom. Their wisdom to ensure that nobody, truncates this democracy. It's not nascent anymore. I want to use the democracy, our democracy. Because once anything happens to the National Convention in any way,
but there's still going to be an accelerated hearing even after the convention.
Yes, because even the original summons will be heard after the convention and all that, which is July 15th. But then
some believe that the outcome of that could also undermine this weekend's event.
I don't see anything extraordinary happening at that level. No one can significantly alter the outcome of the convention. Maybe in the end he could get justice, and that justice will be for him and will only affect his ward. That's talking about the man who sued from Abia State. So he's saying, look, cause the party to not exclude me from this convention. Of course, that is late now. The contestants already know themselves. People have been screened. The party set up appeal committees that looked at various cases.
But then remember that we do not know the grievances of other persons.
Yeah, the thing is, many people have grievances, but I think some of them will leave at the end of the convention, because the truth is the party set up machinery meant to address some of these grievances, but whether those grievances have been addressed, your guess is as good as mine. Because I know, for example, in Adamawa State, those grievances were not addressed. Instead, the man who headed the petitions committee was even lying against the people who brought the petition against before him. So in that case, you cannot say that those issues have been addressed. You look at a governor like Okorocha, for example, who did not know where the Congress was taking place in his state. And he was looking around like a hunter with an halogen lamp in the bush, looking for where the Congress was taking place. Would you say that the matter for which he got so angry and had been attacking the national chairman has been addressed? No, because up to 48 hours ago, they were even still warning him to stop abusing the national chairman. So those grievances remain. Those injustices done to many members of the party remain. So what people are hoping for is that let Oyegun go. Once Oyegun leaves, because he didn't run the party well, once he leaves, Oshomole will represent a new broom who will be able to hold the party together and who will be able to address some of these issues. You look at a state like Rivers, you know that Rivers, the problems remain between Amechi and Magnus Abe, and the court even ruled that the congresses held were illegal. So some of these grievances, these problems will still be there even after the convention. So after the convention, the new leadership of the party can now, in its wisdom, find ways to solve these problems. Otherwise, those people will be out of the party. Maybe what some of them are waiting for now is to say, okay, there's a new man that is coming. Let us see how he intends to solve our problem. Because I've had people say, Oshomole told them to calm down. We'll find solutions to these problems. So maybe they are just waiting, you know, for Oshomole to emerge, because people are confident that he will win. The president cannot support you, and most governors support you, and people expect you to go and lose. You know, he's not likely to lose. So maybe after that, he can use his own wisdom to solve problems like this. They can even go over all of those cases. Remember, even the NWC members who are deciding on different matters, they too have petitions against them.
Right, if you could quickly hold the thought. We have Ahmad calling from Katsina. Go ahead, Ahmad. Ahmad, are you there? Ahmad? All right, you could call us back as soon as you can. Could just quickly.
So they too have petitions against, I mean, even NWC members, they too are seeking to be re-elected, and there are petitions against many of them. So I believe that at the end of this exercise on Saturday, the party will be able to sit down and chart a new way forward. That new way, hopefully, will be a clear departure from the rudderless leadership that we've seen in the last few years. The party is probably even more divided than the PDP. As things stand.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then, Afolabi, how crucial or critical is the outcome of this convention, stemming from what GD said, to the reconciliation, harmonization, if you may put it that way, of members of the party, seeing that there is a task ahead of them come 2019?
And it's fantastic. I think, like what I said earlier, the emergence of a union leader, of course, who ran Edo State for years, in that, by the grace of God, in that national convention, that emergence will strengthen so many things. Because, of course, when you have antecedents of someone who can listen, who understands negotiation, who understands what it takes to, reconcile, because you must understand that in reconciliation, negotiation is very important.
All right, if you could just hold the thought. We have Mukhtar on the line calling from Kano. Go ahead, Mukhtar, with your contribution.
Hello, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
I'm Mr. Jide Akaki.
Hello, sir.
Let me just contribute on this party politics. As far as APC is concerned, and to my understanding is that it lacks internal democracy. And this convention will definitely bring APC either to progress or to disintegrate, because the agreed members are ready. If they are not being treated fairly, they are definitely going to leave the party. And that will not be good for the party. So there are two issues at stake. If they can handle it very, very well, then they will be lucky that they get united. If they do not, it is unfortunate. The party will be disunited, and a lot of members will leave the party to join other parties. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mukhtar.
I think clearly from what you have said again, the unity and togetherness of the party is very important. Because the party also needs to consolidate on the success of the previous election in Nigeria. The election that brought them to power, it was as a result of togetherness. So I expect the party leadership to intensify effort on internal reconciliations for the success of the election coming ahead. So I expect them to do that.
Okay. Asuko, quickly.
Yeah, I think it's just like you have said, if they are not united, they can't go to a war. You can't go to a war on a divided front. You can't win the war because they know that 2019 won't be, it's not going to be a walk in the park for them. So they have to find a way after the national convention. Yeah, like Mukhtar said, we know that they are divided. If they have a national leader that can bring them together, and then they go to the election, perhaps they can win the election.
Jude, in the final words before.
Yes, sir. I think the convention represents an opportunity for the party to try and get things right. It's tough finding the right mix of people who can work together and who can deliver on the promise of change that the party made, even at party level. Because change will not be just at the national level. At the party level, we must see change.
That reflects internal democracy.
So it's taking them some time, a lot of negotiation, trying to arrive at the right mix. But I'm sure that they will get the right mix at the end of the day.
All right, now when we return, DSS arrests Suswam over Benue killings as proposed ranches in 10 states. The controversies. Stay with us. So many conspiracy theories have been formulated to explain endless killings resulting from clashes between farmers and herdsmen in Nigeria's Middle Belt. For some, the killings have political undertone. Perhaps that is why the Department of State Services, DSS, arrested former governor of Benue State, Gabriel Suswam, for alleged complicity. A petition against the Suswam alleged that he is harboring a wanted fugitive, Tewase Kwaza, also known as Ghana. This is Suswam's second deal with the DSS over the dreadful situation in Benue State. Meanwhile, the federal government's plan to establish ranches in 10 states have caused an uproar, as many describe the decision as vexatious. Judy, how vexatious could this decision by the federal government be to establish 10 ranches, seeing that initially we talked about cattle colonies, which was rejected And now, and we said that branches would be the best solution. Now the federal government is coming up with this, and then there are reactions stemming against this again.
I think for most people, the federal government has no business setting up branches, because as far as they are concerned, it's a private affair. And when you look at the kind of money that we want to spend, 179 billion, is such a huge sum of money. I know that, yes, sometimes when banking, for example, is Nigerian banks are not owned by the federal government, for example. But at the time when the banks were in distress, the Nigerian government came out to assist. Remember AIG in the US and other big companies. When Obama took over and he saw that those companies were struggling, including even automobile companies, those big automobile companies in Detroit that made America popular, they were in distress. The government stepped in and spent public funds to save those businesses from collapse. The only thing Obama did was that he made sure that government changed the board of those companies, because you can't run a company aground and then I've come with funds to save the company, and then you expect me to keep you that ran the company aground in office. So they did that. When you look at the number of people that we have lost, and even property that we have lost to herdsmen, farmers clashes, it is said that in a year, we've lost, in a year we lose like 5.4 trillion naira to those clashes. So you may want to argue that whatever the government can do to stop these killings, the government should proceed to do it. Many people will argue along that line, but I think for states that are opposed to it, their own argument is that cattle business is private business, and government has no business spending all of that money on what is supposed to be private business. So I think that's the argument, and they have also punctured the government's argument that if they do that, it will be similar to what they did in Netherlands, the Friesland Campina. But they are saying that in the case of the Netherlands, that it actually started as a cooperative in 1879. So if it started as a cooperative, which now nets about $11 billion every year, you cannot say that that is, that it was government intervention at the time. Okay. So if we look at it, those who want government to intervene, they are right, because they don't want this bloodletting to continue.
Of course.
They are right. And those who are saying, look, public funds should not be used, to appease herdsmen, they are also right. Because in future, maybe some fishermen somewhere could cause a problem in the land, and then blackmail the government into...
Okay, then how do we have a consensus? We need to solve this problem.
I think the consensus in the first instance has suffered so many negative effects before now. Because take for instance, if you are spending this much to, appease some people because of their own business, what about the interest? Because you need to look at scale of preference when you are doing anything. What about the interest of that state in so many other areas that needs development?
Okay.
You understand? So if development in some key sectors of the state has suffered serious setback for years, and you are introducing this kind of gesture to ensure that at least some people are pleased, ordinarily this kind of thing will, provoke high level of agitation. So I think it's a big challenge in this regard.
All right. All right, so Asuka, where do you stand on this matter?
Well, to me, I think it's just like another amnesty to some people. Amnesty program given to some people.
The millions.
Because we are not talking about millions, we are talking about billions. And this is like a private investment. The government is saying, private investors are going to cough out 100 billion. So the government will invariably be bringing about 79 billion or thereabout, into this business. And they are looking at states, 10 states. Now, those 10 states will be having like, say, 94 locations or thereabout, and
94
ranches cut across. And they've not told us, maybe those states now will be the grazing routes that we've been talking about. I want to
because there are, a lot of them are in the north, so part of the grazing routes could be taken.
Along those lines.
With maybe Oyo, a state in Oyo, then Ebonyi is, in it, because even the subcommittee and Edo State. So if you look at it, to me, we are just, if we give them this 100 and say, okay, let's take it. I think the government they have agreed already, they have agreed to it.
Okay.
So to me, it's giving another set of people another set of money. For every year, government will say they want to budget for it. It's a 10-year plan. So we'll keep doing this, giving amnesty. Another group will come out, will look for how we are going to dole our money. We must find another way outside. If it's a private business, let's make it a private business. If it's like Jide just said something about cooperative, let's turn them into cooperative and then let them go to bank and collect money.
All right, Kingsley, go ahead with your contribution.
Hello.
Hi, Kingsley.
Yeah. What I want to contribute is about this ranching that the federal government wants to embark on. Like Asoko said, it's like another amnesty. And I think the people that are pushing these headsmen to be doing what they are doing has this end in mind. They have this end in mind that at the end of the day, government will come and they will settle them. So it's just like the Boko Haram thing that they keep spending money on military hardware. The war is unending because some people somewhere are benefiting. And now we are talking about the arrest of Suswan. I think this is another political maneuver pushed too far by this government. A perceived enemy or a perceived PDP guy.
All right,
they want to
Kingsley.
kill that person. They want to put that person in jail.
Kingsley, thank you for your contribution. Now, let's bring Gabriel Suswam into the mix. He was first arrested for having a cache of weapons, and now he's been arrested for, brought into custody, DSS custody for, harboring a wanted criminal.
For allegedly. It was a petition.
It's a petition. This is a weighty allegation.
It is really, and it's potentially damaging. What if they conduct this investigation and they discover that he's actually not harboring this man? Because it's dangerous. When you read on Facebook where Nigerians demonstrate extreme ignorance, they actually accuse him of being the one killing people all over the place.
And one wonders, why would he want to do that?
Because, you see, the thing is, in Benue, what many people do not know is there are court killings, just as you have in Rivers. There are court killings, and there are killings by headsmen. But there is a determination on the part of some Nigerians to make it look like the killings by headsmen are politically motivated. And our president, a honest man who speaks from his heart, when he was in Taraba, he said the killings, the headsmen, farmers' attacks, are economical and not political. So there are people who want to make this thing look like, it's politicians who are killing these people. You know that in Kogi State, headsmen sacked some villages. So are you telling me that it is politicians like maybe Suswan or other who also went to Kogi? Just the same way that they are attacking people in Delta. So the attempt by some Nigerians to make it look like, it's politicians that are behind this thing will fail. Whether it is politicians that are behind it, the government has an obligation to stop the bloodletting. So it does not even, saying that, it is politicians that are gathered and they are killing people in Benue, does not take away the responsibility of the government to stop the killings. Now, killings by cultists is a different thing. In Zaki Biam, 17 people were killed. Is the cult It's the cult in Benue that carried out those killings. But the herdsmen killings are different. These are people looking for areas to graze their cattle, and they are always in constant conflict with farmers. It's happening in Adama, it's happening in Taraba. So it's just Nigerian politicians, they have nothing else to do. All they will just do is just gather and be killing people in the name of herdsmen. Because I saw one funny headline attributed to one Nigerian soldier, one of our senior soldiers, saying that people pose as herdsmen. There are politicians who pose as herdsmen. This kind of officer, if you bring him to a TV station and you subject him to serious grilling, at a point he will not know what to say again, because he will not be able to provide facts. It is a fact that herdsmen are killing people. The Nigerian army has arrested almost 200 of them. They announced that they've arrested. Yes. They didn't tell us that, oh, we arrested politicians posing as herdsmen. So why are we trying to make it look like it's politicians who are behind this? If someone files a petition against Suswam, they should go ahead, investigate Suswam. They said they found some weapons with him the other day. When I looked at, because when I saw the headline, it looked like it was weapons enough to win the war against Boko Haram that they found. But when I saw the list, I saw clearly that it was the headlines exaggerated what happened. Look, whether it's exaggerated or not, I admit that no one has the right to illegally go around with weapons. Right. But that was a different matter. So a petition now, if someone says, oh, you said you are going to make Benue ungovernable, and then you went and pick up the man, you better do a thorough job, because we want to see how it's linked to these killings. Because when they say these killings, nobody is talking about killings by cultists. They will think it's these herdsmen attacks.
If you could just also thought, we have Adisa on the line calling from Lagos. Adisa, are you still there? Adisa?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, go ahead with your contribution.
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you.
Good evening.
Evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We can
Hello.
hear you.
We can hear you. Make your point.
Okay. Now, what I'm thinking is this. Okay. Yeah. If you set up ranches, good evening. If you set up ranches, how will that stop the international routes where these cattle are being brought in? I have not seen how establishing cattle ranches all over the place. We close all the routes. Where are the cattle going to come from? Are they not going to be bred within the ranches? If they are not going to be done that way, it means we have not solved any problem really, because the cows have to move from one point to the other. So where is the solution in it?
All right, thank you, Adisa, for your contribution. This allegation does not solve the problem or the challenge, like Jide said, in Benue State. So we need to move on and deal with the real issues rather than politicizing issues.
When you even politicize arrest, it's terrible, because, take for instance, there's nothing wrong in investigation. Investigation is very good to, to address any perceived, danger in any society, no matter how big anybody is. Anybody can be accused. But the issue is that if your investigation is not thorough, and you just rush in to arrest somebody because the person has been petitioned, that might be damning. Because at the end of the day, the person, take you to court and all that, that would defeat the essence of the whole thing. Right, there might be distraction in this kind of arrest.
Asuko, you have to hold your thought, because we need to quickly take this break and continue with the discussion. Stay with us. Yes, you're watching the Thursday edition of Journalist Hangout. Quickly, Asuko, with your thoughts, then we'll move on.
I think the DSS, yes, they are doing their job. We want them to make sure that the investigation is thorough. We don't want another a politician, an opposition has been arrested and blah 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 blah. The election is coming, so right now what we need is people to be prosecuted. Okay. There are so many that have been arrested. What is happening to those cases? Because you've arrested Suswan now, we need other people to be arrested and to be questioned.
All right. All right, Asuko. If there ever was a state chief executive who feels helpless, he must be Zamfara State Governor Abdulaziz Yari Abubakar. Recently, the gentleman, quote, resigned, end quote, as the chief security officer of his state because, according to him, the security outfits in his domain stopped listening to him. In a twist of fate, citizens of Zamfara State have sought refuge in neighboring Katsina State, and the governor there, Aminu Bello Matsari, has promised succor to thousands of traumatized, internally displaced persons. Helplessness induces hopelessness, and yet all of this vulgarity was avoidable. Jide.
Yes. You know, the unfortunate thing is Katsina used to experience similar killings by bandits, by cattle rustlers. But they came up with an amnesty program, just like Kano State. You know, in Kano's Falgore forest, these bandits were running riot. Both states came up with an amnesty program, and those guys surrendered their weapons, and they stopped stealing cattle. In fact, in Katsina, the state now set up a vigilante outfit dominated by the same former cattle rustlers. The committee the amnesty committee is headed by the secretary of the government of the state, Alhaji Mustafa Inua. So they've done a good job. Today, those guys are no longer running riot in Katsina. If you remember even the story that TVC did about cattle rustlers, it was actually in Katsina that Somna Sambo did most of the work because it was a big problem in Katsina at the time. But this new government came and they solved the problem. They realized that it's not in all cases that force can solve a problem. Then they came up with the amnesty program. Today now, Zamfara, where people are being killed like fowl, they are now rushing, the people are now rushing. More than 3,500 IDPs are now running to Katsina to take refuge. That's a state where someone came up with an ingenious way of solving the problem. He didn't say politicians are the ones behind it, as we like to deceive ourselves about. The bandits who are running riots now in Zamfara and Brinengwari, they are people that can be caged. We have not been able to solve the problem. I don't think that it is right for the governor of Zamfara to say, oh, I'm no longer the chief security officer. You don't give up. Leaders, true leaders, don't give up. You are close to the president. Everyone knows that you are close to the president.
And he's saying that the security outfits in his state are not listening to him.
He's not the first person to complain about the security outfit. Even the emir of Anka, who the other day said he was going to report Nigeria to the UN and AU because of the way they are killing his people. He said the same thing, that there is so much corruption. Because the people will raise alarm that these cattle rustlers are here. 7 hours after, nobody will come and assist them. And those guys will just slaughter people, steal their cattle. How can cattle rustlers steal 162 cows at once? If there is, if security men are not treating them with levity, they won't stop at cows. So they will steal ram, steal other things, and go just like that. And I believe that it is outside Nigeria that they are selling those things in Niger Republic. After all, the borders are porous. So the governor, instead of the governor to give up, he should work with the presidency, talk to the president, tell the president, look, solve this problem for me. That's why he was elected. You can't give up like that.
But if the president is to bring any solution for them in the state, it's still going to be this same security outfit.
They must keep, just as we are doing now. Every time we are talking about this Zamfara thing, I know that there are some people who don't like it because they think that we are indicting the government. But we will keep talking about it because people being killed are Nigerians like us. Exactly. We don't have two heads. So he too must keep telling the president. I know that the president visited the place the other day. You know, he too must keep telling the president that you must solve this problem for me. I'm like a son to you. Why can't you help me solve this problem? That's what the governor should be doing. But to give up and say, no, I've resigned to faith, I'm no longer security. No, it is wrong. It shouldn't be doing. If I see him, I will tell him to his face that what he did was wrong.
Even that statement itself is an admission of, you know, that it is all over. But I think hopelessness. I think again, let's look at it. I think the whole world is watching us. This recommendation should be, you know, catered for. I think in some of these troubled states, state policing will be very important for recommendation. This is Nigeria. If I need to, if I go and beg Mr. President to help me in my state, Mr. President is the commander-in-chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And I'm sure Zamfara, Katsina, and other states in Nigeria are not exempted. It's the president is a father to all. I don't even need to talk to Mr. President and beg him to understand that the security, the safety of lives and property in my country is paramount. I think what is important is that if I need to beg Mr. President in Asoro to address this, if I need to beg him for help, I think it would be more important for me to have a state police that I can control on my own. A lot of Nigerians have recommended this.
You can't do that with the
no, it will get
to... It's a constitutional thing.
I know. That's why it's a constitutional thing. But I think...
And they have shown us that they are not ready to amend it. So why are we...
Nothing is rigid. The situation we have will warrant things like this because it is getting to a very dangerous angle. Either we like it or not, we don't have any other country to run to. This is our country. And it must be addressed in a way that we need to, the whole world will not see us.
Where the option of the state police is not available. No. Perhaps the vigilante and all of that.
Because most states, that is what they are doing. You know, if an Nambode can bring out neighborhood watch, he has RRS, he has so many security outfits. Why can't the Zamfara state government do that? They have money, they have security votes, they can buy all this equipment and then give... Just like you are saying,
it's about funding.
It's just funding.
Funding is key.
When once the governor knows that, oh,
there
this thing is
extraordinary that Nambode has done.
Yes, he has not done anything.
He has provided equipment for the police, and we can see that police are doing a better job than before.
You know, even just yesterday, Ivy was saying it's like there is no crime again in Lagos. You know, because
if you snatch a phone here in Lagos, they will arrest you.
If there's a way, they will take you.
Let's quickly hold the thought. We have Zainab on the line calling from Abuja. Go ahead, Zainab.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Babajide.
I agree to Zainab. Go on, Zainab. Don't listen to yourself. Just keep talking.
And others.
Yes.
Thank you.
I enjoy watching your program, and I appreciate that you talk so passionately. In fact, you speak like a different Nigerian. But the thing is, please, the man that said...
Go on now, Zainab. Zainab.
The governor that says he's no more the chief security officer of his state. Please, is it that he's not going to take the...
Security
what do they call it again?
Security vote. We'll find out from him.
His security vote. What will happen to the security vote?
Oh.
And this is a... I hear that they're all through, and he's still to come. Is it?
All right, the lines are muddled up, Zainab. Thank you for your contribution.
Any little thing, this governor is always saying, go and pray, go and pray. He will just want to pass the ball. No, they actually voted him for him to secure lives. We know that, okay, yes, the entire thing has to
I don't want to even believe that we can't defeat those bandits. Because you can see that the Air Force, after they sent some of their helicopters to that place, they announced that they have even rescued some people kidnapped, and they destroyed the camps of some of these guys. If we had been doing that from the beginning, maybe by now we won't have this problem.
So we shouldn't just resign to faith and say, go and pray, special prayers.
Let's move on now. Nemesis ripens what our hands have sown, or to paraphrase, we reap what we sow. So it is for the Randy professor, Richard Akindele, whose recorded telephone conversation soliciting for sex in exchange for marks from his student, Monica Osage, went viral on social media. After thorough deliberation, the governing council of Obafemi Awolowo University dismissed Professor Akindele over his involvement in the Sex for Marks scandal. On Wednesday, the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Eyitope Ogunbodede, announced Akindele's dismissal, adding that the punishment became necessary because he acted in a manner that compromised his position as a teacher and examiner. Now, now that he has been dismissed, is this enough?
No, it should also be prosecuted. It should be prosecuted. It shouldn't just end at dismissal. It should be prosecuted. That is what will make other lecturers to truly learn because it will be double trouble for you. You lose your job, you get dismissed, no entitlement of any sort will be paid to you, and then you face time in jail. That way, they will know that sexually transmitted marks is not the way to go. That's how one of my favorite columnists, Oken Dibe, describes it as sexually transmitted marks. This is just one case. There are so many cases of women who do not deserve to pass, who these lecturers sleep with and simply let them pass. So, which is also compromising the quality of our degrees.
Exactly.
We have people today who have degrees, some have doctorate, that they cannot defend.
Exactly.
You know, why? How did even the idea of post-jam come in? In the past, there was nothing like post-jam. During our own time, there was nothing like post-jam. If you passed, you must have been good enough.
Exactly.
You know, and it was like that. But today, everything has been compromised in our country. There are miracle centers here and there. So no university will want people that they have not tested to come in. And then we have these lecturers, these things, you read about these things like mere rumors. But it is clear now that it is happening. There was a time, I think Linda did something. Was it Linda or Stella Dimokos did something on this attitude of lecturers. And so many female students were talking about their experiences. This thing is a disease in our ivory towers. And that this man is a good thing, that this man has been dealt with. He even showed that someone can allegedly be brilliant and not be smart. Because you see clearly that that girl was trying to get him to commit himself, because he kept saying, don't mention my name, don't mention my name. Exactly. And the guy will say, oh, Professor so, just so that people will know that that is the person that, and you say, you want 5 lays, you want to lay her 5 times? No. It don't surprise you. 5 times.
Some professors are professorial in that regard. I think
additional 12 marks.
It needs to be given a professorial chair of sleeping with women.
I think because of the environment I work, I see them on daily basis and all that. We must understand that professors are different from every other human being you can imagine. They are a proud set of people. And in fact, in most cases, they are special species that doesn't even believe in monetary advantage for anything they do. The name is very important. But I think the punishment he has received globally, because it's not about even the decision of the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. Decision is a global condemnation. So I think by now, even without him being prosecuted, the dismissal itself, because I think if you are dismissed in that cadre, as a professor.
So are you saying this will serve as a deterrent?
But he was already approaching his twilight year.
If you are dismissed, you are not entitled to so many things again.
Was he not approaching his twilight year in the institution?
And again, yes.
Close to retirement.
Close to retirement.
Close to retirement.
So close to it.
Then he has no plan to work anywhere else.
Anyway, again, but the reputation is soiled for life. So these are the issues.
And the
again,
name of his family is
damaged. The name of his family, that is of his children.
Irrevocably damaged.
Even if you say he should go and be hanged, it's not enough for anybody who knows what it takes to be a professor. That name is not an easy thing. The reputation has been destroyed. And again, let's give kudos again to social media. And I think the various, the importance of technology has even become the greatest policeman of the whole thing now. Because take, for instance, if there is nothing like this innovation, like Ansett, like that can take pictures, that can record, that can do all sorts of things. Imagine what would have happened in the 20s, 20 years ago and all that, when things of this nature. So how could you have...
When you report as a woman, they will not believe.
Yes, they won't believe now. They will say, where's the evidence?
Who will believe? But I think I will also, this is a lesson for anybody. You can be very intelligent, but of course it might not be cunning.
Will this really serve as a deterrent as opposed to other lecturers or professors?
Other lecturers, because even when I was in school, a lecturer would tell you, you can't even score 40. What will you do? You just keep quiet. You keep reading and reading and reading just for you to have those 40. And at the end of the day, you know what the lecturer wants. Is that he wants money. And if he tells a girl that he's 40, he must have 40, you won't get it. You know what it means. You know? But this is going to serve as a deterrent to all the lecturers. Some of them are even master's degree holders, some doctors. They are not even professors. And the way they will treat you as a student, you will know that you can't even imagine it. So for Monica, for her, she is going to take so many threats. She will.
She will.
You know, her life will be threatened. So it's now.
Watch her back.
You know, she really has to, because the police too, I don't know whether they are going to give her a police
protection,
protection and all that.
All right.
But she has to watch her back.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time on the program. That's all on Journalist Hangouts. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. Watch the repeat broadcast tonight at 11. You can also watch Journalist Hangouts on other platforms showing on the screen and on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I am Veronica Danny Boy. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.